sort of a spontaneous, extemporaneous, loud, and impassioned address with an important content.
But a ranter is someone that really isn't that logical or intelligent, I think. Yeah.
Not necessarily.
No?
Not necessarily.
I'll
It
go for it,
depends.
George.
It
Okay.
depends. There's all sorts of ranters, but I want to get right to the matter at hand here, which is your album, and much of it, as you know, is recorded in clubs in Berlin, Germany, and in Poland. And
No, that's not true. There were only two pieces. Blood 2 and in terms of money, it was recorded in a club. And the rest of various things. We have a Mexican band, Marimba on air in the voice, and we have Bix. I think you're going to play a video with Bix, is a Lithuanian band that I recorded in BMG Studios in New York. And we have lots of work from Mike Theodore, so there's not much of it. There's only two pieces we recorded.
Oh, is that only
German.
two pieces? It was
Yeah.
my understanding that there were more.
No, there were just those two
Just
pieces.
two.
Yeah, the rest are basically in studios in Mexico City and in New York.
You, however, did perform in both Berlin and in Poland over the summer with the songs on your new album, No Borderline. And I'm wondering what led you to premiere this album in Europe rather than at clubs or public venues here in the United States?
This album was not premiered. The album was premiered in the United States. This album is not available in Europe right now.
No. But the songs that you performed in Europe over the summer were the songs from this album, and
Well,
it was the
because by
first time that
accident
you
I was-
performed those songs. That's not.
Well, what happened
you know,
was
by chance.
August 13, 1992, I did a concert at Sphinx Club, and one of the promoters showed up with 2 beta cameras. That's a $10,000 video, and he took a 2 beta camera video of it. And then when I played the next day at a festival in Zarnowiec in front of about 10,000 people, they showed up with 4 beta cameras. That's a $15,000 video they gave me for free. So they were had $25,000 worth of video for free.
I really wanted to ask you about the reaction.
So I had that footage, and so we just put that together quickly.
Sure. I wanted to ask you about the reaction of audiences in Europe, in Germany, in Poland, in Czechoslovakia, in Lithuania, places where you have performed repeatedly. What is the difference in reaction between European audiences of Copernicus and American audiences of Copernicus?
I'll be honest with you. For the last 4 years, I have been more in Europe and not here, and so I've been more in Europe for whatever reason. They wanted me there, and I was there. But I'm back in New York, and I'm back in the United States, and I'm going to be touring here, and I'm going to be playing all over New York, Northeast, South, and Northwest. I'm going to do a tour of California, and then Boston, and I have someone in Louisiana for the South, and I'm going to be touring.
But
the reaction to the audiences,
what is the difference in the audience's reaction between here and there? Are they more?
I would say the audiences in the United States are a bit more sophisticated.
The German audience?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, because they have more choice, and I would say the New York audience. I'm talking about the New York audience now. It's more sophisticated, and although the European audience might be more sensitive and more open.
You don't usually gather as great a crowd as the thousands that have seen you in a I believe Polish stadium. No, sorry,
yeah, I've never played in front of 9,000 people in the United States. No.
You have never played in front of that many people.
3,000 people, like in Moscow.
What does that feel like? And how
it doesn't really make a difference to me. I give my heart and soul every time I perform, and I just remember right before I went on stage in Prague, I was laughing. I was just totally relaxed, and I went out there and blew it. When the adrenaline takes over, what's the difference if you're alone in a room, or if you're alone, or if you're in front of 20 people? It makes no difference to me. I don't feel the 9,000. the adrenaline takes over, and I'm in my heart and soul, and I'm letting it free. It's wonderful.
You say that one should not sell one's soul for money, and yet in selling an album, and I don't mean to be, pedantic here, but in selling an album, you're selling your most personal philosophy, your most personal understanding and thinking and feeling about the world for money. How do you feel about that? Is there a contradiction?
I'm not selling an album. I am sharing my soul with the world. And there's nothing wrong that the world should give back a certain amount of funds so that I can make another album. Musicians like to be paid. Everybody likes to be paid, and it does take a certain amount of money to do things. Mm-hmm. And
let me ask you a question, Copernicus, that's a general Copernican philosophical question, if you will. Why do you think the subatomic world, which is, after all, merely the perception of a handful of scientists, regular people don't really perceive
I do.
the subatomic world on a day-to-day
I perceive it. I live with it every moment of my life.
Basis. But why is that subatomic world, in your opinion, more valid for people than the world that they can perceive and understand and touch on a day-to-day basis?
Great question. Well, we know that the atom itself does not exist because it itself is made up of particles that are in constant change. So anything above the atomic level is non-existent and is constantly changing. There is a possibility that there is something in the subatomic world that does not change. The quarks or whatever.
Let me ask. Let me.
So what's the question again?
Let me personalize the question, if I might.
You ask a question and you don't wait for the answer. What's the?
You asked me what the question is.
Yeah.
Right?
Tell me the question again.
Okay. The question was, why for the average individual in everyday life, why should
nobody is an average individual, by the way. Everybody's special. There's no such thing as an average individual.
That's great, but just for the common man, if you will.
Well, nobody is common. Go ahead. I see what you're saying.
Everyone is common, Copernicus. But the thing is, why is the subatomic world more a reality than the world?
Because there is a
world
possibility
which you perceive in your everyday life.
Because there is a possibility, and I'm not saying there is. There's a possibility that in that subatomic world there is a world that does not change. That's why. Okay. Now I'm not saying that it's possible that in the subatomic world there is a particle in there that does not change. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. Because,
if you don't understand,
very good. You're leading into this video. There was no. So actually, atoms themselves have evolved. Mm-hmm. Okay. When you have so much heat, as for example in the Big Bang,
right?
Which is what the scientists have now are explaining the origin of the universe. When you have so much heat, particles are so unstable that they're not able to stay together. Mm-hmm. And so as they cool down, they evolve. As they heat up, they change into other things. So, if that's true, and I tend to think it's true, reality itself is relative. So there is no absolute reality. I believe for a long time in my life that there was such a thing as absolute reality.
Okay. Let us break then to the song There Was No and listen to it.
There was once a time when there were no atoms. $300,000 years after the Big Bang. The universe was cool enough for atomic nuclei to combine with electrons to form atoms, allowing matter and radiation to evolve independently from that time on. the atom, before the beginning of the music skits, before the sun could see, before the sun could be, work through the sun, before the sun could be, before the sun could be, before the sun could be, before the sun could be. Before the sun could be. Fire tone, walk song, gained into its own kiss. Before the sun could be, beat, sound, tone, washed into the cold dream, into the caustic sound. Out there we kiss, wash, 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 wash. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tuck sound into its own sun, walk sound, where there was no mother, and there was no father, and there was no birth, and there was no new, and there was no old, and there was no time, and there was no child, and there was no sister, and there was no brother. No!
And there was no you, and there was no I, and there was no we, and there was no we, and there was
Incredible. That's a real Mexican jumping bean performance you give there, Copernicus, as you sort of vibrate up and down.
Well, the fire is hot, you know, and it burned me on the bottom of my
The
feet.
fire is hot. That was
Yeah.
one of the original substances that the ancients thought were really at the essence of things. But I guess they were wrong. Or maybe they weren't. Let me ask you, Copernicus, getting back to your thinking and your songs. In the world of illusion, of social reality, what have been your greatest joys and disappointments? And what have these brought to your art and your thinking as Copernicus?
Well, my greatest joys is basically that I see myself growing. That is the greatest joy. That from that poor fella, that poor teenager writing down and talking to Jesus and starting to question Jesus, and I've turned into this monster that I am. And
Media
I understand
monster.
Jesus. I have a good relationship with Jesus. In fact, I was going to put a piece on this album called Jesus. What was it? Christians of War. I was going to put on this one with Bix, but it didn't make it. It'll make the next album. When you go through that whole period of brainwashing that various religions give to you, the poor young children, and But fortunately, if you're able to break away from it and grow into your own and bring out your own vision, you see, you cannot only have other people's vision, you must have your own vision. And if after seeing you make the decision that you believe in Jesus, and that's your own vision, it's the conclusion that you came through from searching yourself, great, okay? But if it's what somebody told you and what you were brainwashed to think of as a child and you never got out to think on your own, that's not great, that's bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the great thing is the evolution and seeing yourself growing and liking that and being proud of yourself. I'm proud of myself.
Do you think
I was just to say that I was just really recently I was in Cologne, Germany, in a very good hotel. And I was coming down this fancy elevator. I'd done this gig, and I looked, and there was this really great mirror in the thing, and I looked in the mirror, and I smiled, and I said, "I'm proud of you." I was proud of.
We're all proud of you,
I said, "I'm
Copernicus.
proud of you."
Let's face
You know,
it.
I like that. I'm proud of you. You know?
Okay. But getting back to the nitty-gritty of the world of society, the world of illusion, as you sometimes would put it, does it make much difference at all to you whether this social world, this world of illusion of human norms and institutions and so forth, is orderly or chaotic, or if it's violent or safe and secure? Does that make any much difference in your way of thinking?
I don't want to see creatures suffering. You know, that's what's important to me. Whether it's a cat, a dog, a human being, which to me is the same. They're all animals. Cats or dogs or other creatures are our ancestors. Mm-hmm. And suffering. We don't let all creatures pass through this, pass the time without suffering. And I think that through understanding, that suffering can be taken away. And it's, again, the ignorance that causes that suffering. Mm-hmm. So I care. Of course I care. I wouldn't be Copernicus if I didn't care.
When you say,
I wouldn't be spending all this time and energy and everything else doing this work if I didn't care. I mean, the whole movement of Copernicus is a giving thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you say I don't want to see creatures suffering, I'm reminded of your lyrics from the song The Voice, which is coming up in this program. Where
I love you, little creatures.
I love you, little creatures. Blow your nose. You exhort us. You permit us. In a way, in this song, you take on the aspect of God, of some sort of a higher power that's pulling all the strings of the marionette and allowing you to have a certain amount of freedom.
Well, I don't say.
How did you put yourself in that position?
Well, I don't. I don't say that I am God. I said I could be a vehicle for the voice. It's been done many times. That whatever force is using me as a vehicle to communicate these ideas. It doesn't have to be me. That's God.
It's the voice of the song in any event. I thought it was also the voice of Copernicus, but it seems to be the voice of God. You say I must be hard on you. What does that mean? Does that mean that God has to be hard on us humans and put us through suffering and trials and such?
Well, it is hard to be human. It's hard to be an animal. It is hard, and all the suffering and to struggle through ignorance. I, as a young man, was very angry with God that He would force us to live. He would force us to live and not give us truth.
Force us to live and not give us...
Force us to live with ignorance, in ignorance, and not have the truth.
Uh-huh. So we must discover it for ourselves, then?
Yeah, unless you're going to follow what somebody other man tells you, which is very bad.
Mm-hmm.
I see such intelligent people out there doing that. You know, looking for some guy to tell them what to think. Very bad.
But isn't that what you?
I knew a guy. He went from Christianity to Buddhism to Hinduism to Judaism. No, no, no. The angel is in you. Everything that you have to find is inside of you. You have to think for yourself. Don't be searching. And there's nothing wrong in searching in the exterior world. But the final decisions must be yours. Be careful of some man standing up there. When you're standing up there on stage, don't be interrupting me so much when I talk. When somebody's standing up there on a stage, and somebody's standing up there on a stage and talking, that's a very powerful position. And that's how Hitler did it. He stood up on stage and he preached. And you're down there and you're looking up, and there's a hypnosis going on. So no matter what anyone is saying, you can be hypnotized down there. Be careful. You have to think for yourself. Because if you follow the dictates of other people and live other people's ideas, very dangerous. Go.
You say that life and death are simply an ignorant society's illusions.
There's no such thing as life. There's no such thing as death.
Let me ask you that on a personal level. Have you...
Those are inventions of people who are defining reality with their senses. Mm-hmm. If they had atomic eyes, there'd be no such thing as life or death. If you could you can envision these things with your mind.
Have you never felt the pain of the death of a loved one, or perhaps
well, in the time,
thought of life that might have been, or
in
what
the
have you?
days that look, in the days, if you're in the days when I did define reality through my senses, the death of things was more dramatic. I miss John DeVita. John DeVita was a very, very great poet who committed suicide in New York City. I miss him, but my consciousness, I miss that presence, of course. Mm-hmm. But to say that there is such a thing as death, as society defines, there is no such thing as death. There's no such thing as life. There's no such thing as birth. There's no beginning. There's no end. There is nothing.
So I guess you don't have a will, buddy, right?
A will?
Yeah.
I do have a will, actually.
You do?
Yeah.
Well...
You're not in it, George. Not yet. I may put you in it.
Why have a will for something that will never happen?
Look, there is the world of reality and there is the world of illusion. And...
so it's in the world of illusion that you make your will and testament, right?
Mm. Look,
yeah.
The best thing is to live 100% in the world of reality. Mm-hmm. And perhaps I said, the day that listen to me now, the day that I come to live 100% in the world of reality, society will kill me. Okay?
What do you mean by that?
They'll put me in an insane asylum, or they do it all the time. They just killed the fellow out there, and what's his name?
Who did what?
Who was in that farmhouse, and he had his ideas. They burned him and ate him.
Oh, in Waco, Texas, you mean?
They do it all the time. Mm-hmm. They were going to kill Copernicus. He was too old, so they killed the next guy, Giovanni Bruno, for saying that the sun was the center of the solar system.
Okay.
They burned him in Rome for saying that, but they do it all the time, and they're still doing it. And America likes to do it.
We are going to cut right here to a burning video. It is, I believe, The Voice. It has the musical collaboration of the great Mexican musician Zeferino Nandayapa. And let us go straight away to The Voice, Copernicus and Nandayapa.
Of course, he's not seen in this video. But this...
Slow lips that drag along the sea. The yellow sky is dead. Circus dream in the general's army, where the balls hide. Circus dream, I hate you. Through the dreams I cry and caress the pain in the pink rain. Through the great ride that brings the ball to the center. After all, it's funny
Don't worry. You're always complaining. You'll be all right. I love you, little creatures. Blow your nose. Look in my eyes now. And let's dance here at the end of the world. I must be hard on you. Don't be so serious. You don't even exist. The end is the beginning, and you are the end. Like heart, like courage, you cannot die. I am you. You are me. See me. Stop trembling. You're making me cry. I have no control. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
You, like the carriage crosses that hang alone in the sea's desert. Pebbles, dreaming pebbles sweating in the sun. Spirits eating through the lava, waiting for the sand to whiten the kiss. Truth, spirit force, turned into the dry wood. Just be alone with the universe.